Sport karate is not karate. Okay? Let me explain that. Why does everybody consider what they see in the WKF or what they see in the Olympics or in karate combat or in the American point tournaments, which I would say is called point martial arts, because everybody from any style goes there. It's not a karate unique system. So what is sport karate and where did it come from? Who did the first rule set of karate? I'll give you a guess. All right, you done? Okay. So, the first rule set of karate was introduced by Sensei Masatoshi Nakayama of Shotokan from the JKA, the Japan Karate Association. Okay. Gichin Funakoshi, who is the chief of the JKA at the time, he was against sport competition because he didn't believe it matched the philosophy of karate and its intricacies, its principles, and all that. But they created a sport template so that they could have a way to attract more people into it and to give them a competitive avenue, so to speak. So the first style of sport, now when I say sport, I mean sport, not the art, a variation or a very slender variation, which is restricted from many techniques. It's a very small expression of the art itself, not the entire art. So sport is, the first style was from Shotokan, right? That's why Shotokan fighters historically are renowned for their prowess and their ability and their athletic ability throughout history, their accurate technique. And the rules that were introduced were based on controlled technique, and there's a big reason for that. They had no mouthpieces, they had no gloves, they didn't have cups, they were just using controlled technique. Now, if they used full contact, those techniques would injure many people. As it is, many people get injured and put out on stretchers anyways. So the argument is, why create a sport if it's going to be harmful to people? So point karate, or karate sport, as it was known as, ippon shobu, the idea of ikenitsatsu, meaning from sword martial arts or kenjutsu, were the principles of, if I cut you once, you're going to die, right? Just like in a duel. So the idea of ikenitsatsu became ippon. And ippon was basically the idea that if you execute a technique well enough and express it with efficiency and effectiveness, that would be considered effective enough in real life. Now, that was expressed in the point karate systems, and that's where ippon came from. So nowadays it's a very different game, and they've changed it a lot, and it's nothing near the origin of how karate started as a sport. All right? So we're talking about sport, we're not talking about the art yet. Now, for those that aren't familiar, they look at what I would show people today, point karate from the 80s, the 70s, and they go, well, that's full contact. And I say, no, that is controlled contact. They're not intending on injuring their opponent. They're intending on expressing the technique, expressing the form in a sport rules. So they're not trying to fight for real, necessarily, till the death, but they're trying to express what the technique could be in reality without injuring seriously anybody, and without seriously injuring anybody. So the concept is that there's very little concussions, right? There's very little injuries. They do have the occasional bloody lip, the bloody nose, maybe a black eye sometimes by accident, but not by intent, because it's to show the effectiveness of how good you can show your technique with vigorous application, with the spirit behind the technique, with the approach that you would with a sword duel, right? So if I had a razor sharp sword and you had a razor sharp sword, who would win when in that exact scenario? The person that struck first. And maybe the other person would land a strike after the fact and you might get injured. But the person who landed full committedly in the beginning, the first technique, that person would live, the other person would typically have their demise. They would die. So this is where point karate's principle comes from. And it is expressed in the sport, okay? It has nothing to do with the totality of the art of karate. And if we were to do bare knuckle fighting, like you see bare knuckle boxing, right? That's ideal for karate people that train for that. This is why Kyokushin karate doesn't have punches to the face, because close counter engagements, it's easy and it's considered kind of rude to punch somebody in the face because it doesn't take much if you're up close and personal. Beating somebody down, fighting somebody down, that is more respectable because it's two warriors trying to express their spirit. You know, you can agree, you can disagree, but the fact is this is where these sport rules came from and originated, and why they came about. And the first style or system of sport karate was from the JKA, the Shotokan style of sport karate combat. Okay, I hope that clarifies a little bit, but don't mistake point karate that you see today as what karate is as a martial art. It is not a martial art what you see in the Olympics. It is not a martial art what you see in sport events. It is an expression of a martial art. It is a small snippet of the whole picture, and it should not be confused with karate as a whole. All right, that's a whole different topic and a whole different subject that I will go into the next video. Hope you like it. Os.